Hi and welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming to today's celebration of Native poets. I'm John Smalley and am a librarian here at the main library in the Humanities Center on the third floor. I want just to take a moment to acknowledge our community. On behalf of the public library, we wish to welcome you to the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place. As guests, we who live and work on their traditional territory recognize that we benefit from residing here on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community, and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. For those of you who are here for the first time, I want just to mention that the library does hold a monthly poetry reading on the second Thursday of each month, facilitated by poet Kim Shuck, and that takes place in this very room. So please do come to next month's Poem Jam on December 12th, which will feature poets Wanda Sabir, Carla Brundage, and Sarah Beal. You can learn more about our programs by picking up a flyer or newsletter on the table on your right, which is also full of coffee and cookies that you can help yourself to, or you can check our online calendar, events calendar at sfpl.org. So now, without further ado, I want to turn the microphone over to San Francisco's Poet Laureate Emerita, Kim Shuck, who is the host of today's program. Please give Kim a warm welcome.
Thank you, John. I'm really excited for today. We're actually being audio recorded, but not video recorded. And we are not being video recorded because they're across the hallway in order to record the honoring for Maya Angelou that starts when we're finished. So, which wasn't going to be the case, but I decided to make sure we closed up early so that people could go over there and hear that, because that has Avacha and Tarita Mikkel, and it's actually a really great lineup as well. So this is sort of a little mini poetry walk, I guess, like across the hallway. Thank you for being here. Having looked over the schedule for the first, they call it first person, November this year, I noticed that there really wasn't anything celebrating particularly Native writers, and that bothers me. So John and I added a special date for this. So this is a slightly different reading than usual, in that although most of the readers are Native readers, one of them is not. But the point was, who's been inspired by deep reads of folks? And some of those people aren't Native. Some of them are, other things. So, so you've got a real strong cohort of Indigenous women and one white boy from Oakland, who I'm going to bring up right now. Paul Corman-Roberts organizes the Beast Crawl in Oakland. He's mentored hundreds of other poets, is a really good friend, and is a fan of Stephen Meadows. So come on up.
Thank you so much, Kim and John. And it's an honor to be in the lineup with Linda and Mona today. Folks, prior to meeting Kim and getting involved with Kim and the Fire Thieves, and Kim very graciously gave me the gig of helping to co-produce the Fire Thieves, which really opened up my world to Native poetry, beyond just John Trudell and Buffy St. Marie. And one of those people that I got to be introduced to was Stephen Meadows, who since helping to co-edit his manuscript, which was released on Nomadic Press, I was just blown away by his work, and then I got to meet him in person and actually call him friend, and that's been as thrilling as anything. So I'm going to do a short presentation of Stephen Meadows' work here, followed by my own piece honoring the ancient village here on the peninsula known as Petalnook. So first poem from Stephen Meadows. This is called For the Living. Standing high on this hillside, the wind off the Pacific, forming the language of grasses and escarpment eternally speaking, the seabirds far out, on their plains of air, gather and squander what the short days encompass. We make what we can of what reason can give us. We take from these all too brief moments some reckoning of meaning, hoping as we hurtle haphazard through the storm of a cosmos to make some small imprint, while the birds in their white realm reel over the tumbling green ocean, this plated earth gliding beneath us like a wind under shoulders, and the language we hear is the grass on this hillside. In all of it mythic and wondrous as the goddess dream. Thank you. For Chief Joseph, your cook fires here just a short time ago. You passed without sound by this stream in the dark. The smoke now in tatters, and the dawn wind unfurling, like the death in bad blankets of your merciful wisdom. The blue world you worshipped now follows you solemn as a grave. On Trigo Street. Squatting in the alley, baking smoked colored bread around a 5-gallon pickle tin stove, our clothes homemade, we gleaned what we needed from the street, our anguished conversation and a need to be new. I can never forget how you cried that night when we tried to make love, fully clothed and ashamed, because you'd been raped as a child, just 12, and I had never made love at all. A fire if it burns. Bent willows rattle in the wind overhead. The remnant of the match still smokes in your hand. I was 12. You were 50. I was 50. You were 12. Hovered over the wet wood, that barely burning symbol of the generations passing in the thicket near that rumble of the river. Your eyes red as firelight from drinking all the beers, the white man's curse upon each swimming that rare blood. With the road of the wind and water in the trees, you stared across that 50 years, the wild eyes rough as the stubble of your jaw. The despair planted then on the full of Drift River comes home every Christmas everlasting, like that other kind of gift. Stephen Meadows, everyone. And one of Kim's assignments for me was to go check out the watershed out just off of I can't even think of it, the Presidio, the watershed just off the Presidio. And I learned long before this place was called Yerba Buena, was a little village known as Petalnook. These are the blues for Petalnook. There's a city around here somewhere. You can hear its chirping, squealing, crying, growling, and excuse me, leaking through an armory of stubborn marsh bramble. Not that the green sweat bee has any shits to give over deferred and decelerating combustion agendas. A shaded grotto sits just off the sidewalk perimeter, a short descent down a mild slope. And even after an array of early morning squalls drenching the entire marsh, the dark, saturated redwood benches feel, look, even sound welcoming in this gentle and perpetual dripping off thousands of branches and leaves that welcome the gathered drizzle like tears of a lover that has been gone too long. These are the blues for Petalnook. It all feels so very welcoming, but do not be fooled. Soft lawn fingers may invite blankets and lawn chairs, like gentle, probing fingers down toward a finely manicured pubis, where a wilder and denser tangle resides but a few steps away. And yet further down this natural flow, Closer to the density of the shed, archaeological items. A saturated sleeping bag, a toothbrush, socks, and that's it. Where did they go? When did they go? How long were they here for? Nobody knows, like Golden Gate National Recreation knows, where it is the Homo sapiens are not supposed to go. Watersheds were not made for baptisms and target practice, and memory runs for as long as Mission Creek runs in this dark, stained sand. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Kim.
It's no accident I invited Paul. Thank you, Paul. Another round of applause for Paul Corman-Roberts. I am consistently grateful for our next poet. Mona Webb doesn't know this, but every Thursday I do Poem Jam, I pass by an image of her and I think of her, and I realized that because the years had kind of gone by since we'd seen each other, partially caused by the pandemic and the pandemic shutdown, but also we're both very busy women. I probably was feeling a closer relationship to her than was felt in the other direction, just because we don't see each other as often. But I just have to say, in terms of First People, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, we're not folks that necessarily run into each other by accident. And so I try to pull as many Indigenous people around me as I can sometimes, and particularly at this time of year. She's also a kick-ass poet. Please welcome to this microphone, Mona Webb.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here and to be a presence with you. It bears mentioning, just because of where we are in the country right now and the way in which we are sharing it. I want to share the work that I do. I'm poet in residence in the National Center of Excellence in Women's Health at UCSF, as well as the Black Women's Health and Livelihood Initiative, as well as the Black Wellness Center. I'm also the Director of Wellness at the Black Wellness Center. I am also the Janice Mirikatani Poet, Theologian, and Residence at Glide Memorial Church, which I'm very excited about. And I'm grateful to be here to be a presence and bring all of the spaces that I represent here into the room. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be back in the fold with Kim Shuck. It's such a gracious honor to be welcomed into this space, and I'll begin with this poem by Joy Harjo. Remember, my name is Ramona Laughing Brook Webb. I'm Afro Creek Muskogee from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Thank you so much, from the Perrymans. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the star stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, and that this is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown, and that giving away to the night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you from and beneath. You are the evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who will all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance, language is that life is. Remember. Oh, thank you for that. It's an inspiring and beautiful piece that gives my heart no end to the beauty of nature and just the envelopment of what it means to hold family, ancestry, and legacy as a part of environment, as a part of who we are and how we express in the world and see each other as people. Which brings me to this next piece about the rodeo. Dear Bradley, the Creek Native American Rodeo has been rodeoing for a very long time, longer than you and I have been alive, longer than we have been able to climb into seats and watch. This rodeo holds so many stories and secrets from our family lineage. It has catapulted you to college, and you ask me now, what will I do with this degree in Creek Muskogee? And I tell you that you will tell our children and our children's children. And when this is gone, when rodeo is gone, and when this land may not be here anymore, your stories will continue to live. This language will continue to thrive. You, Bradley, are legacy in the making. You are holding our ancestry, knowing of your perseverance and purpose. I am so proud. Black Indian, they think we don't exist, and you show them always that we are present. You are so big in Tulsa, in Muskogee, in Oklahoma, but you must know that we see you glimmering from the stars from above. We see you, we feel you, and your representation. You are a visibility that is absolutely necessary. You give me strength. You give me courage. I am so dearly grateful to you, dear sweet cousin, and know that our legacy will continue to survive as long as you tell our stories, as long as you speak our language, as long as you hold our lands. And no matter what they do or say, they can never take our legacy. They can never take our beingness, and they cannot deny our blood. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I've been talking to my cousins at home, and the concern around the erasure of legacy and the erasure of culture, and what it looks like for us versus what it looks like for the rest of the world around us. So, and in keeping with that, I'll share this. As I began to fall, the world stopped, and time stood still in reverence to the new beginnings, till the rivers gurgled and the earth yawned as my blood flowed inside out. My inner beauty was exposed. I cast in every shadow with a dusty glow, which hid the sun and mocked the rain. Is this love or pure fantasy? Can you see my eyes peering through the holes in the wall? Do you feel me stroke your cheek with envy? Can you taste my sweetness? Can you smell my presence? The scent of keyberry and honeysuckle, leaving a cranberry aftertaste. Do you see friends forgotten, old faces you never try to know or understand in me? Do you believe truth and despair or life everlasting? Do you take what you need or do you take what you want? Do you live for me or do you live for you? Do you like to be loved or are you just obsessed? Can this be an infatuation? Or is knowledge bearing forbidden fruit to those who don't believe? Is infinity forever? Or does it enter or can you dig it, can you vibe, or is it just a meaningless phrase? To believe or not to believe, is that the question or the answer? A triangle with stop. Because you see, it called and then it responded. Not powerful, don't you think? I don't know. It's a figment of my imagination. It's seeing, believing, or can I know without a blink or lift of an eyelash without a second guess will I be right? Are these tangled words to a forgotten puzzle to those who are ready? This poses no threat. Are you ready or are you through? Does this fall upon deaf ears, or closed minds, or open hearts and yearning souls? Live life. Don't let life live you. So do I ask too many questions or give too many answers? Live the now and not the forever, the live the forever and not the forgotten. Question what you don't understand and ponder what you don't know. Because you see, people fear what they don't, whatever. So this, my child, you are always blessed. Never confuse love and lust. Never lose hope or your belief. Stake your claim. Make your mark. And life, everlasting, is granted when life begins. Thank you for that. I felt like right now, especially where we are in this moment in history, it is important to affirm ourselves, where we are, where we come from, and who we are and who we intend to be, the impact we're going to make in the world. And so keeping in that, I also want to tell another story. So Lewis Howard Latimer invented the first permanent filament of the light bulb. Lewis Howard Latimer invented the first carbon filament of the light bulb. He was also a brilliant poet and musician. And on his 74th birthday, 50 books of his poetry were published and given to family and friends. And I inherited my grandfather's copy as his namesake. I've been writing call-in responses to him, his poems of the early 1900s and me in the 21st century. Lewis Howard Latimer, of course, invented the filament of the light bulb. He also designed the telephone patent for Alexander Graham Bell, the air brakes on the train, the bathroom on the bus, and a myriad of things that we use all the time and don't take inventory of. In honor of his poetry, I will start with his piece, and then I will respond with my own. Many of these poems are in museums, and very few of them are in public, and so I see it as my position and purpose to make sure that people get an opportunity to experience his genius in all aspects. This piece is entitled, "My Soul Will Be a Star." When I die, my soul will be a star. Way up high and watching earth from afar, and note the good, the tender, and the true. When I shall die, my soul will be a star, to smile in answer to each wandering eye, to look in sadness on all strife and war, and twinkle sympathy to those who sigh. To those who weep, I'll lend my softest light, and send sweet hope down on a tender beam. To those who love, I'll give a gleam more bright than radiates out from a poet's dream. I'll guide the sailors o'er the treacherous sea, and bring his bark safe to foreign strand, and warn the danger threatening on his lee, and smiling greet him when he's safe on land. I'll peep into the window of each home where sorrow bows the loving parent's head, and bring sweet tidings of the loved ones who roam, and whisper messages from dear ones dead. When I shall die, my soul will be a star, and I shall watch when the bright sun is gone, beaming most brightly when the days are far, and fade into the sunlight of the waking morn. When I shall die, my soul will be a star, to smile on earth through ages yet to come, to guide and comfort all the souls that are, and welcome others to their final home. Lewis Howard Latimer. And thank you, sweetheart. My responsorial poem is Living for the Stars, LHL, dedicated to my father, Wallace H. Webb, and my great uncle, Lewis Howard Latimer. For my father. When my father was dying, a restless light swam about his tongue. Soft glow of the soul swirling in a death rattle, alerting us to the newness on its way. The light at the end of the first darkness is birth. The light at the end of the last darkness is death. The light in my family is a generational gift. I feel the genius of the light. It is in my veins. My mother put it there. Fact. Lewis Howard Latimer invented the first permanent carbon filament of the light bulb, patent number 247097, on August 13, 1881. For years, the electric light bulb carried his initials, LHL. For Uncle Lewis, we descendants of the light hold it close, cast it about the world, filling Black hearts with pride. We are the light bearers, casting the light into the unknown and unseen clearing, to the certain truth about the brilliance in Blackness. It guides the hand of a poet unsung, a still guiding light. It was the light of the radio and the vision that followed that stopped me in Hurricane Katrina, saved my life 20 minutes from a bridge that would have led to a certain death. Like a lighthouse of the soul, spirit turned me round. And after the storm, it was the light that I missed the most. Like a somber moon, like a daydream held captive in the eye of chaos. And when cancer rolled up my father's chest and sung a deep breath, it was a fallen darkness picked from the night sky, a blanket of stars and silver linings, his gaze fixed on through the window while waiting to cross. And when the moment came, and the moment did come, I watched the light escape from his eyes. The moment of graceful ascension is like a heartbeat held in sweetness, a sudden bloom in February, a sassafras kiss, weeping willows waving goodbye in the distance, eyes that smile without sadness, and the arrival home always follows the light. The light. Uncle Lewis, the constellation of stars that led your parents, Rebecca and George Latimer, to run freedom down, run north from Virginia to Massachusetts, run over, run through, run beyond, and run, and run, and run, and run, to give birth to you, to give birth to the light that would illuminate the world. And yes, when I die, my soul will be a star, way up high, but close to where you are. Yes, when I too die, my soul will be a star, way up high, but guiding generations to come from afar. Thank you. I also want to share this moment of clarity that I've been coming to in myself in my life journey as I am trying to propel myself forward and also encourage myself to move forward. I wrote this poem in honor of the film From the Ashes, dedicated to Teresa Fortune, who is the filmmaker. It's about maternal health and birthing. And as I birth myself into a new place, as we move into another frontier, as we move into this brave new world that we're not sure what it will look like, I think it's important that we affirm ourselves, that we see ourselves, and that we hold ourselves in sweetness. So this piece is entitled Phoenix. Dear future self, let me champion you now. Know that I love you, and you are absolutely necessary to get where I'm going right now. And there will be moments when you don't believe in the faith weighing down your doorstep, when you will turn faceless and walk alone, and we've all done it. But I assure you, there is a sisterhood in the volcanic explosion that is you right now. A garden will bloom where these ashes lay. When the ancestors come marching in, we find ourselves ready to fly away home, create what's necessary to be lifted and dug out from this. From the ashes of grace, we rise into ethereal beings born of matriarchal magic. And when you find yourself tired of being strong, just be. And when you feel yourself slipping off the rope, grab hold, tie a knot in that mother lover and hold on. And there will be this period where waiting on a miscarriage is like waiting on a hurricane, when it does not go the way you planned, and the postpartum will make you wonder why anything, as postpartum can do. This middle passage of matriarchal experience, slipping an emotional Mickey to the wealth you've still got growing inside. You must forgive yourself and fall without fear. Radical forgiveness is a rooted dance, wading in the waiting waters of surrender. Stop fighting, start being. Your radical acceptance is enough. Repair, restore, retreat. There is a nature to the decision to stay. Stay alive, stay whole, stay blessed, stay with joy, but stay. Where the impossible is possible. Where time is our currency, generational norms breaking into a new vision, where every breath that you take is a measure of success. As we identify our why be, remember who you are. Who you are is loved, is necessary, is brilliant, is blessed, is wonderful, is genius in action, is a faith walk, is unconditional love, is gratitude, is why. Just you is more than enough. And then I pray, dear God, I pray you see yourself in me as divine fortune, a living testimony to the abundance that brought you into this world, an infinite knowing of the spirit that guides your intuition. I pray you know you are a celebration in action, destiny manifest, prophecy at work. I pray you know you're valuable. Pray you take up all the space. Pray you see yourself as a reflection of your mother's strength. Know that you are a testament moaned into testimonial. I pray that your heart remain a dedication to unconditional love. Thank you, God. Ashe, Amen, and Amen. Forever, always, Mona Webb. Thank you for listening to me. I deeply appreciate you. Where are you in time? Yes. Thank you so much.
When you see that silly meme on Facebook with the world burning down and the poet yelling, "Do you need any poems?" Remember that. Because you do. Now, organizing the order of poetry is an interesting mathematics, particularly in an event like today where we really have some exceptional poets. So I will explain what the thought process was. I wanted to start with Paul because part of the community and not part of this community necessarily. And go to Mona because our third poet today is a California native person, and this is their place. But there's no make weight in this show. Linda Noel and I are friends, and we got that way because we met through her poetry. Please welcome her up to this microphone. Linda Noel.
Seriously, I want to thank Kim for all she does in, for, and of poetry. I am going to make reference to the word Koyunkawi, which is the name of my people, but you don't see that word often. The government calls us Concow. We come from the Northern Sierra. Ancestral strength. Winter shimmers before me, lonely, hip down, shoulder angled. I am part my grandfather waiting for first snowfall before leaving Willow Creek. Part my mother who helped push her father's car from snow-covered red dirt ditches. Part my grandma living snowbound in pine country. Part my father who walked the miles to town sledding food back to grandma's ranch. I am all these and many, many more Koyunkawi people. Acorns have descended, salmon have come home, and mushrooms have found light. I look into winter and know that no frost can freeze the spirit. No 1,000 winters of ice can put out the flaming heart of my people. Untitled. In black and white, Leonard Nimoy is playing a Comanche Indian. Similar scenes are rerun over decades and centuries. No black blood, no white blood, red blood beneath every skin color. Black and white words, 1st or 21st century, some words spoken in red. This is too complicated to just try and explain to an Indian, Nimoy is told. In black and white skins, all the hues in between. I love the mahogany black, a young girl says on the Greyhound bus to a short, crisp, chuckled response from the black woman to whom she is speaking and obviously does not consider mahogany. Black and white words spoken on the interstate. Black oak limbs against a white winter sky. A shout in black, silence in white. White eyes in a black eyeball. White words on black silence. Stars in the sky. Crow on snow. The blacks and whites of yesterday. And the colors in between dusk and daybreak. Colors of the heart. He has a black heart, she said. Lock the Indian in the closet. How do I know what goes through the mind of a crazy Indian? You can't take the word of a dirty Indian. Leonard Nimoy silently walks out of Dodge City, Abilene, LA, or Orville. His shadow whispers, go forth and prosper. Thank you. I'm going to read this poem for Mary Norbert Corta, who was an excellent poet and a very interesting woman. And she was a tough broad. She lived down in a canyon, Randwood Canyon, for 30, 40 years, off the grid. She fought for redwoods. She saved redwoods. She told me the last time she went to jail for protesting, the judge told her he didn't want to see her there again. And she said to me, okay, because I'm getting old. So this, and she had written this thing, and I can't locate it, about an incantation with a chainsaw. So she was a tough girl and a wonderful teacher, poet, in the schools for many years. Northern women. The northern winter woman is the wet and moody one. Her legs embrace naked hard timber. She is the woman who pushes fog inland. Moist brown woman, bent willow woman. The wet winter woman struggles against wind bending her back. She is the white water woman who lingers with every storm. Snow-faced woman, waiting salmon woman, the fire-building woman. She is the earth sucking water back into her womb. The woman who is night herself, whose pulse is the stirring motion of flowing water where wet women awaken in black forests. Thank you. I'm going to read this for Kim. She published this poem for me, and she has been in this city where I have read this poem before and been heckled, and she stood by me. And this poem is me asking people to please not use the word squaw in terms of Native women. And in this city, which is considered one of the most liberal cities in the world, I have been heckled for asking that. So I'm going to read it anyway. The reading was a benefit. Make your checks payable to Squaw Valley Writers Conference. And like mushrooms break through damp but tough earth after rain, the poem arcs, the circle in motion. Words fall off of Pacific fog as the woman behind me repeats each word precisely while her husband pens the check. The donation to scholarship. And as his signature dries, she asks, "Do you know what a squaw is?" Halting the rocking motion of my feet. I don't know why they keep using that name. It's terrible. My rocking commences as her words roll down my back with the fog. How poetry raises its head, where words fall out of the mouth of fate. My thanks are prayers. And I can't cry for poetry or for history in this fog light, waiting for poetry reading on the Barbary Coast, because the tears might flood the bay. So I ask you not to use that word. Like I said, my people come from the Northern Sierra, and we survived the gold rush. And this kind of tells, how I write about things, and things can happen when you write about things. California bounty. I bring up the heads. The room shifts. Ether goes heavy. My brother later tells me everything was going good till you brought up the heads. You see, it goes like this. My people were put on, I'm going to start over. Okay. California bounty. I bring up the heads. The room shifts. Ether goes heavy. My brother later tells me everything was going good till you brought up the heads. You see, it goes like this. Bounties were put on my ancestors. Some branch of government, federal, state, county, some agents, set the price for proof of murdering my relatives. At first, scalps were evidence enough of man, woman, child. Advertisements that can be found on microfiche are placed in local and regional newspapers. Of course, the price for a man was highest, with children fetching the least. And how greed inspires creativity. And greed prevailed when scalps no longer would suffice. Even scalp cheaters find a way to higher profits. Whole heads would now be required as proof of a dead Maidu. So out of crevices of granite, down every draw, every canyon, creek, river, trail, came mules with heads of my people, strung and undulating with each step bound for payment. I get that this part of history might bother you and that you might question the need to know me. It shakes with decades of centuries echoing each pulse of my blood come down the mountain. That's why I bring up the heads, to seed understanding of who and why we are, I am. Thank you. Just a couple more here. The next one is about native plants. And of course, it's been realized that native plants were very, very essential to the survival of the ecosystem, the world, blah, blah. So, and it's not something I take lightly. It's very important. So there's been this, resurgence of not only identifying, but replenishing, reviving some native plants. This poem is called Native Plant ID, but it's more about how I identify to native plants. Mushroom, pulp and gill, firm flesh, food we share with thousand-legged worm and deer, in whose flesh we taste. Pepperwood, revered healer, burned in the home of the newly departed, spirit on spirit, to temper grief. Elderberry, flute song and clacker, calling the rhythm of ancient dance, sweet on our tongues. Gooseberry, prickly globe of sunlight, gently rolled on a stone, we savor your insides of nectar and seed. Willow, essential for survival, split, bent, and woven into circles tight enough to hold water. Wormwood, medicine swaying in spring wind, strength to heal and harm, honored scent in our home. Pine nut, moisture in my mouth, strung with shell and bone around the neck of ancient dance. Cedar, your smoke strength meets and dissolves shadowed spirits. Your planks shelter us. I burn you each morning before leaving my home. Angelica, carried in my bosom, close to heart and blood, tonic, chewed to strengthen the circle. Buttercups, small suns sway on thin stalks, my mother's favorite. I will forever see her face on your petals. Dogbane, we crack and pull out your innards, roll and twist them into twine to hold our world together. And I had to do a mushroom revisited. I couldn't help myself. Creation does not allow for you to remain underground. You are destined to find light. The journey beginning long before rain, we wait with you as you become firm and earth softens in subtle motion. You emerge to become food we gather, leaving your original seed to feed tomorrow. And I'm just going to finish with mountain song. I come from the mountain. Blessed mountain, you are my home. Sacred homeland, you are my heart. Blessed heart, you are my truth. Sacred truth, you are the way. Blessed way, you are a circle. Sacred circle, you are a basket. Blessed basket, you weave my life. Sacred life, you are a gift. Thank you so much.
for those who didn't see that, I just got my arm popped for calling her awesome. So I go last because I'm the host. And if time has to be cut, I'd rather it be mine. So that's what that is. But I am going to read a poem from Carolee Sanchez, who was my mentor, and Laguna woman from New Mexico. And the thing I put in here to save the space fell out, but I found it anyway. Symbols. Release energy, move from mind to matter, matter very much. Become stored knowledge, precious entities collected as beads or bites, restored on recycled trees. Somewhere long ago on an ordinary day, a human mind perceived nature's random paintings as recorded reflections of familiar things. Wind prints on sand, watermarks on rocks, holding line and shape together to form animal, fish, fowl, tree, branch, leaf, human faces, human bodies. Somewhere on earth, on an ordinary day, a human hand understood the magic of transcription, used stick, stone, and bone to etch symbols from her mind into wood, sand, and stone. Carolee Sanchez. And this is a short one of mine. November dance shirt stitched, wildflower petals and seasonal promises, the daily body shock. News, the bombing, the kidnapping, the posturing. Peace is not a scale we should use to measure fuel and water. Fear can be slow poison. We know something about forced relocation if we put our hands to it. Under a hunting moon, we scavenge. Bonfire toffee and ginger, a handful of almonds, grated nutmeg, a mother's hand, a bombed building. We learn to dance in bitter pear smoke. I will have you out of here by 2 in order to go across the hall, but I wanted to end with this. The recent election has a lot of people in some kind of place because it feels to a lot of folks like our fellow countrymen have voted for our death so that they could have cheaper eggs. And in Indian country, we call that an election. It's not funny, but it is, right? So I just want to say, we're the children of the ones who survived. And we are not less than our ancestors. We need each other right now, and we have to show up for that. Thank you for being here. Another round of applause for our readers, please. Paul Corman-Roberts, Mona Webb, Linda Noel. Thank you for the library for letting me do this without censoring me at all. This has been recorded, and people can get back to it if they want to. Thank you for being here. Check out the show across the hall. Thank you.